Good morning, everybody. Hello and welcome.
Good morning. Are we recording everything?
We are recording this time. Hopefully everybody has awesome, amazing plans for this wonderful Valentine's Day. Thank you guys for letting us switch from yesterday to today with the Super Bowl and everything. It just seemed a little crazy. Everybody was like, we can't watch it. So we're going to do it today and continue our hormone section, part 2. This is going to be a little bit of an overwhelming Facebook Live today with all the things that may be on your list of things that need to change. But I do want to say that start anywhere. Like, pick one thing that we're going to go over today and change that. And then maybe next week change something. So this is not meant to be overwhelming and discouraging. It's meant to be educational and to help support you on your path to wellness. So no matter where you're at, maybe you want to go completely cold turkey and change everything today. Awesome. Great. We're here to support you. And if not, maybe just a little bit more information for you to say, let me start thinking about that. So no matter where you're at, we're here to help. We're going to give you the science behind it, the real truth about how some of these changing these are a pain in the butt. But we're here for you.
Yeah. And, we've been working at this for years and years and years and years. And so we kind of always tend to take things to the extreme when it comes to this stuff, but just start with the low hanging fruit. Start with the stuff that's easy to implement, easy to change, doesn't really impact your life all that much. And you can keep building it up, because what ends up happening is there's this fatigue factor where you get so overwhelmed. It's just like, well, forget it. I'm not going to change anything. And that's the worst possible outcome. So just as we're going through this, like, oh, I could swap that for that. That's what we're looking for you to do. And that's what we're challenging you to do.
Absolutely. And as always, in the comment section, send us emails, private messages, ask us for options, because we're going to talk about a lot of things that you may use every day. And you're like, well, what do I do instead? And that's not really what we're going to cover today, because there's not enough time for that. But if you need options and like things that you could swap in for, just let us know. That's what our nutritionist is here for. That's what we're here for. This great community is here for. I know somebody earlier was just asking for options. So again, please don't be shy to ask questions in the comment section. That's what this is here for. And again, we'll help you guys as well too with sending links and options and ideas.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about external sources of endocrine disruption. And that sounds like a very heady topic, but all that means is things from our environment that impact our hormonal cascades. Okay. I always, when I'm explaining hormones, it's always like a thermostat in a house. You either have your air conditioning that kicks on when it's too hot, and then you have your heat that kicks on when it's too cold. And homeostasis is that, you want 68 degrees for you, Dr. Lacey, probably 72 for me, somewhere in there. Yeah. But homeostasis is the goal. Endocrine disruptors are basically things that block that ebb and flow back and forth. And so they're benign objects. They don't have intelligence. And so because they don't have intelligence, they may look like a hormone. And so it just binds to those binding sites. And then now we're off and running, and when we're having hormone cycles that we shouldn't be having. So what's the best way to do that? Number one, try to eliminate them if they're already in your body. And then number two, really work on reducing your exposure. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So,
right. And today is not the topic for how to detox off of endocrine disruptors, because it's really important that you do that. One, it's not the topic of today, but just a caveat on that, that you do it in a safe way, because some of these things online are like, detox your hormones. And it's like, oh boy, we see some of those ads. And I'm like, oh, that's a really big recipe for disaster, because when you're messing with hormones, you really need to work with somebody that knows what they're doing to make sure that we detox you in a safe and healthy way. Because endocrine disruptors, they imitate hormones. They turn some hormones into other hormones. They compete with essential nutrients. They bind to hormones. Like, they're crazy little guys. And so if you're not doing this in a safe way with knowing your medical history, it can be a little crazy. So again, start, like you said, by eliminating them, and then support your body's natural ability to just kill those things off.
Yeah. And that's why we're talking about making swaps, because what is the point of going through the hell of detoxification if you're just going to retoxify yourself?
Exactly. And I would say the biggest thing is stopping the toxic burden first thing. And then just your body is a smart healing being. So again, don't focus on, oh my God, all the wrong things I did. Just start on moving forward. So
Yeah. So the easiest place to start is eliminating your sources of plastics
yes.
in your everyday life. So like things like Tupperware, plastic drinking containers, sandwich bags, all these different things. And here's the thing. What we're seeing now is things that say like BPA free plastic. That's just marketing. Okay. Plastic by its nature, it's chemically derived. They're going to find that the BPA plastic ends up causing cancer, just like BPA plastic. So the real solution is eliminating. And so what's a really good way to swap plastic products out, Dr. Lacey?
Throw them all away immediately.
Throw them all away. Yeah. And we can swap it with glass, right?
Yeah. And here's a really cool thing. You don't need just glass, because I know we work with some patients and they're like, oh my God, the idea of giving my kids glass, totally get it. There's a really cool brand called Life Factory that like coats their glass in like a silicone. But stainless steel is also a great option, not aluminum. Let me say that again, not aluminum. But like stainless steel bottles.
Ceramic.
You could do ceramic. There's even a ton of now really cool silicone, like lunchbox molds. I know we do those for the kids and they like compress down. So there's so many options versus like when we started diving into this like 10, 15 years ago. But Costco sells a huge container pack of the glass Tupperware. I would say starting with your Tupperware and your drinking bottles first, because again, it can be overwhelming to say, oh my God, I have to change everything. So go and get one glass water bottle and wash it every day. If you guys read my post I think it was like last week or 2 weeks ago, really important to wash your water bottles. But just start with one healthy, like acceptable water bottle, and then get one of those packs from Costco that's glass Tupperware, and start with that. And then maybe next month you buy like another set of Tupperware that you could throw away. And mainly too, it's not just the storing of the food, it's the heating up of the food. And so I think that's one thing that's really important to know about plastics is it's also the temperature changes that the plastic gets exposed to is when it leaches the most of the toxic chemicals. So like heating your food up in the plastic or leaving your plastic water bottle like in your car and it getting hot, like that's where it's even more of an issue. And the reality is if you're drinking plastic water bottles, the amount of time that those plastic water bottles have gone from multiple different climate changes by the time it gets to the store in your home, your water is not pure water anymore. Even if you're buying the best alkaline crystal guys or whatever water it is, if you're buying it in a plastic water bottle, it's got a ton of chemicals in it.
Yeah. So if we're gonna talk about water, I think that would be the natural progression of source contamination. And there's all sorts of nasty stuff in our water supply. So what's the expensive solution and what's the cheap solution? So the expensive solution is a whole house filtration unit. Right. We invested in that maybe 3 or 4 years ago at this point. Best money I've ever spent. When you change water filters in a whole house filtration unit, you're like, oh, that's gross. So that would be the expensive solution. But cheap, easy solution would be point of source filters. So like putting a filter on your shower, putting an RO system like at your sink, whatever that is. It's much cheaper, but you're still pulling contaminants out the same.
Absolutely.
The number one thing that's in our water supply that causes massive hormonal problems is chlorine,
especially out here in the Sacramento area.
Yeah, big time. And so I would say a shower unit, it's going to be probably the best bang for your buck because they measured it out in a 10-minute shower, a nice hot water where you're breathing in all those fumes is the equivalent to drinking like 30 glasses of water in terms of chlorine exposure, and it goes right to your brain, right?
Well, yeah, and your skin's your largest organ, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes. So again, like people are always worried about water exposure, like directly drinking. And I would say, honestly, I'm more worried about like the kids in the bathtub, you taking a shower, because you're exposed to that for multiple minutes at any given time. And especially like you're saying, Dr. Seth, when you're taking a shower, your pores are open because the steam and that chlorine gas that's coming. So you can get these shower filters on Amazon for like $20, $30. They last for like 2-3 years. And what it does is it just filters that and it bypasses. You're not going to get everything, but it's a whole heck of a lot better than nothing. And they're just really easy. You just screw it on. It's like a little like connector piece. And by that, I mean, you would screw that up.
Yeah, so it's not that easy. No, I'm just kidding. But they also have little filters in those, so you can change them out as you go along. But people then go like, well, which one is the best one? Anything is better than nothing. Just a standard carbon filter is going to filter out a lot of trace contaminants.
Yep.
And then you can go as deep down the rabbit hole as you want to go.
Same with the water thing too. People are like, well, what's an affordable? I can't do like a whole house filtration, or you're renting or whatever it is. Honestly, even a Brita water filter is going to filter out contaminants. And the only problem with that is it filters out a lot of stuff. So you may need to add some trace minerals back into your water, which if you go back and look on our social media, we did a whole post talking about water refortifying with electrolytes. So again, we have all that information ready for you guys. So it could be something as simple as just starting with like a $20 Brita water filter. Like that is so much better than just drinking water out of the tap. And some of you guys are already spending money on water, like from the store. And it's really a big marketing scheme. Like none of those waters are truly clean and pure.
No, and and if you're really concerned, if your water sourcing is really, really bad, I would recommend even the water distillation machine. They're like $100. And again, you can add mineral content back into your water, but you want to talk about eliminating everything, but distillation, you need to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So water, both what you're drinking and then also like your shower water, bath water, things like that. So again, you're going to want to look for like a chlorine filter for your shower head, or like a point of source filter. Again, Amazon is a really great resource for that. If you have questions, let us know. But like you said, like which one's the best? I don't know. At this point, read the reviews and any of them are going to be good. So
yeah, so I know a lot about a lot of stuff, but one of the things I'm really going to let you take a run at is going to be things like personal care products, cosmetics, and those types of things, because those chemicals can be loaded with phthalates, and phthalates are massive endocrine disruptors, especially as it relates to estrogen. So
oh boy, yes.
I'm going to serve that up. You talk about it, Dr. Lacey.
Yes.
You're the expert, not me.
I will say too, this is the one where I'm going to start going over it and you're like, oh man, like I've got some things to change. And I will say, like, we've been doing this now for, God, it make me feel old, over 15 years at this point. And so like, it just becomes second nature, that because once you replace it, you never go back. And that's really where we teach this lifestyle component. So I remember being where y'all are at, like in the beginning, like, oh my God, I have to change like everything. And I already grew up in a more like natural mentality, doing things the right way. And even when we started learning, I was like, oh, we still have a lot to change. So again, this morning, as we were preparing, I'm like, what are the major heavy hitters that I want to talk about when it comes to personal care products and really hormone disruptors? And we kind of narrowed it down. These are not all of the things. So sometimes they get patients that are like, well, Dr. Lacey, you forgot about this. These are the big heavy hitters. And again, we're going to do a whole entire series on personal care products. But the biggest heavy hitters for females specifically are going to be deodorants, and that's males too, makeup, perfumes, and then personal care products for menstrual cycling. So let's talk deodorants first, because that's universal to male and female. And this is one that is like my ditch to die in. Like if you're going to change one thing today, it has to be this. So go ahead.
Yeah. So deodorant, let's just think about it, right? When you sweat, the main areas that you're going to sweat from are your pits, right? And that's the way that your body designed it. Your lymphatic system kind of is the sewage system of your body, so to speak. And you have a high cluster of lymph nodes underneath your armpit. And so that's how we release stuff from the body. Whenever we're getting things out, you're either going to pee it out, poop it out, or sweat it out. And so we're talking about sweat. Sweat's all well and good, but we don't want to be the guy that's got, the huge, massive, pit stains, stinks, and all. We don't want that, right? So the very easy one is, we've seen the crystal spray, right? Everybody knows about the crystal. For me, that doesn't work well enough. I don't want to be like what is the commercial where like they do the check where they smell, like, I don't know, whatever. But what I like, they'll use things like bentonite clays, where really they're going to have more of like, I don't want to say antiperspirant, but they're better at absorbing.
Yes.
Badass Beard Company makes a great deodorant. They're local. I believe they're out of El Dorado Hills. But I like them. You can go on Amazon. There's a bunch of them. I'm sure I'll put links. And there's one that I use. It's like a heavy recycled paper, and it's got like a twist to it. That does really well. But for me, if it's gray, the clays kind of bind. And really what we want to avoid is aluminum exposure. And so a lot of times when we talk about antiperspirants, the number one ingredient is going to be aluminum.
Yeah.
So if you're putting heavy metal right into
your lymphatic chain,
yeah, you're going to have a bad day. You won't sweat, but you probably won't remember who you are when you're 60.
Yeah, not just that, like putting those heavy metals, like here's my line of thought, like, and this is for real. Like, first of all, if you're healthy, and this is the honest to God truth, like you really shouldn't be smelly. You still make sweat. But if you're like ridiculously stinky, you've got a hormone and a detox problem going on in your body, just for one thing. So again, like you shouldn't need to use deodorant for smell. So the scents that are in deodorant are also endocrine disruptors because they mimic like estrogen, they mimic all kinds of stuff. So first of all, the scents have to go in your deodorants. But if your deodorant is not something that you literally couldn't eat without having to call poison control, that's a problem. Because again, your skin is your largest organ, not to mention where you're putting deodorants and antiperspirants is right into the lymphatic chain that goes right into the breast tissue. So if you are a female and you want to make sure you're doing everything in your power to not be a breast cancer person, you absolutely cannot be putting like heavy metals, aluminum, phthalates, hormone disruptors right into that passageway. So again, this is why it's like, it's my ditch to die in, is like, especially putting young girls on like Dove or what are some of the other, I don't even know, because we haven't used them in decades. It has to go. So again, there's a bunch of like, you're saying like, you want to look for something with like bentonite clay in it. You want to look for something with like essential oils in it. Also, sometimes they put charcoal in them. One of the ones that we have has charcoal in them. And again, I will help you guys with lots of alternatives, but it can't be one of the traditional ones that you see that have commercials for them, because again, they're toxic right into the lymphatic chain, right down into the breast tissue, down into basically your entire body. And this is true for men and women. So again, like you just can't do them.
Nope.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Cool. All right. I think I made my case on deodorants. We may need to do a whole entire Facebook Live on that one.
Well, so what about, cycling type products? What do we do? Because I know that there's bleached, unbleached, organic, non-organic.
Yeah.
Out there.
So
What should we be doing?
here's a scary thing. So tampons and like pads and all of those types of products for cycling females, they're in this weird category where it's not really overseen by the FDA, which not that the FDA really cares about us and not that they have really high standards, but the fact that they don't have to oversee it really at all is even scarier. So a lot of times the companies don't actually have to list the products that are in like the tampons or the products that are in the pads, which is freaking scary to me, because how in the heck do you know what they're putting in there? And then again, this is an area that's very sensitive. Again, we talk about orifices and like their detox and entry points. And so if you're using, first step with pads or tampons is they absolutely have to be an organic cotton and they have to be non-bleached. And when you really think about it, if you're putting bleached toxic cotton in your entry point, like your vaginal entry, or just as a pad at starting at 12, 13, 14, and you're doing that for the next 20 to potentially 40 years, that's a huge amount of toxic exposure. And again, people are like, well, isn't it just a little bit? Yeah, but it's a little bit for 5 to 7 days every month for 20 to 40 years. That adds up. And again, we're talking about doing things that can help put you in an environment where good things are more likely to happen. So step one is making sure that you get an organic, non-bleached product. And then you can go further down to where we prefer no dyes, no plastics, and then no scents. Again, I get why the scents are there, but again, those are toxic, they're endocrine disruptors. And again, you're putting them in a very sensitive spot that is a really bad entry point for disrupting endocrines and hormones, specifically in the uterine and vaginal area. So, right.
I mean, I'll take your word for it. Yeah, sounds good.
You did your thesis on the menstrual cup.
That's right. Diva cup, right?
The Diva cup, right? Remember, you asked, is it dishwasher safe? And again, one of our favorite things to recommend, it is difficult to get used to in the beginning, but is a menstrual cup because it is a non-toxic silicone mold. And again, it really does help with your flow and things like that. That's the other thing too. One thing that we'll always get when people just switch over from like traditional tampons and pads over to an organic option, one of the first things I will get from people letting me know is, oh my goodness, my flow is already different. And it's insane if you just change it and you immediately notice how it will impact you in that moment and reduce the blood flow. Again, your body is not stupid. It's a self-healing mechanism. And so it's going to express symptoms. And most women just associate heavy bleeding, cramping, all of these awful symptoms as normal. And the reality is that's not how a menstrual cycle should be. It's obviously not like amazing and fantastic, but you should not be down and out to where you can't leave the house for 5 to 7 days. That's not how it should be at all. So again, we have to start looking at some of the things that are disrupting your hormones. And that would be the easiest first entry point of fixing heavy flows, cramping, things like that, especially in younger females. So cool.
Cool.
All right. Perfumes. You want to start this one?
Yeah.
Perfumes, colognes, you name it.
Yeah. So I remember when we were really working on your health stuff way back when, and we'd go to the mall and you'd literally go, and then we'd hold our breath through the perfume section because it would give you like these splitting
massive headaches.
Just the worst. And so there's nothing worse than sitting in a car with somebody that's got way too much perfume on and doesn't know it.
God bless them.
Yeah, what you're doing is you're breathing that stuff in, and immediately it's triggering hormonal cascades. And unfortunately, like just physiologically, our olfactory system, so our sniffer, gets less sensitive as we age, which is why like the old lady perfume is a thing. They have to put a lot more of it on to smell it, and unfortunately, everybody else has to smell it too. Yeah. So the best thing that you could ever possibly do as it relates to scents is getting into essential oils and oils that you like, because number one, they're never going to hurt you. Number two, they smell freaking amazing. And then number three, you're putting it on the largest organ of your body and it's absorbing in, and it's doing really cool stuff that you're not even thinking about or worrying about. So I would say that's a great 3 for 1.
Yeah. And I'll just like, it always, when we start talking about like deodorants and body sprays and things like that, like lotions, it takes me back to like middle school, like locker room. And everybody's spraying like the Bath and Body Works, like the Axe body spray, like the scented like Mary Kay lotions. And like you would just walk into that room and it was just like teenage BO meets toxic chemicals. And it was just like, y'all know what I'm talking about. Like this should bring back memories. And the reality is, like you said, your skin is your largest organ. So when you're spraying perfumes, which are like highly, highly toxic chemicals directly on your skin, you're intaking them through your nose. So you're getting them in your respiratory system. They're going up into your brain, which is why you usually, if you're sensitive, get an immediate headache. And then they're sitting on your skin for hours. So it's like, it's just, you're hitting multiple points of where this is really not a good idea. So I will say, like, if you're like, I can't go without perfume. All right, like, let's work on changing that, because maybe then don't wear it every day. But if you are going to wear a perfume or a cologne, because this is for men too, at least spray it on your clothes, like before you wear them, so that it's on the outermost layer of your clothes and you're not spraying it like directly on your skin contact. That will at least like dissipate and lessen like the toxic exposure. But again, just try and find other perfumes that are like naturally based. Like we just found this awesome vanilla body spray, and it's super non-toxic. It's made with vanilla essential oil like witch hazel, and you can DIY with all kinds of essential oils that still smell really good. So whether you want more like earthy tones for like men, or some women just like those calmer scents, or you want more floral things, with Pinterest nowadays and Google, like there is really no excuse to DIY a perfume. It's really easy. And if I'm saying that and I can do it because I'm the worst DIYer, anybody can do it. So again, like we can help put you in the direction of healthier options, how you can do that at home, especially for teenagers. Really getting them on non-toxic like body sprays is going to be huge for their development, and it will substantially lessen the symptoms that they go through. So you also buy a brand too that uses natural like essential essences, don't you? And then you don't spray them on your skin.
Oh, yeah. To me, I'm just very utilitarian. I'll take a few drops of frankincense, put it in my hand, put it on like this, and I'm good to go.
You're a big fan of Arbor Vitae, on.
Huge fan of Arbor Vitae, cedarwood. Like I said, frankincense, sandalwood's awesome. They're all
a lot of the floral oils from doTERRA. I am only speaking about doTERRA just because it's the company that we use. But a lot of the floral oils are really nice. They're not overpowering, and they're in rollers. And so like, that's how I use them. Like I'll put them on behind my ear, like on my chest. And what's nice about essential oils is not only do they smell good, but they also elicit so many health benefits. So you're like getting a multiple, like you said, like a 2-for-1. So my favorite oil to put on like as a perfume scent is Magnolia. I think it smells amazing. But again,
what's that blend for men, like Amave maybe?
Yeah, I don't,
like
that was
that
a special time.
One of those stuff.
But yes, that one does smell really good too. So again, baby steps. So if step 1 is like, well, I'm not ready to DIY mine, or I'm not ready to go to like organic ones or whatever, let's at least start by not spraying them directly on your skin. Spray them on your clothes and then go from there. And then maybe when that bottle runs out, you don't replace it and you get more of a natural option. So again, if you ever don't know if it's a good idea or if the ingredients are safe and clean, all you have to do is ask. So
simple as that.
All right, so today was hormone health part 2. Next week, we're doing hormone health part 3, and we're going to be talking all about, Dr. Seth, your wheelhouse.
Internal hormonal disruption. So buckle up. It's going to be fun.
So we'll be talking about all the things that can go wrong in the body and what those really mean. And so things like infections, bacteria, stuff like that, which is really crucial. We'll talk about how you know if you have those things, and most importantly, how you fix them. So thanks everybody for joining us on a Valentine's Day. I'm sure most of you guys are going to have to watch this in the replay, which is not a problem. Again, comment, like, share with your friends, ask questions. We will also upload this to our YouTube page and email it out to everybody. We hope you have a fantastic rest of your Valentine's Day, and we will see you guys this Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in the free Inflammation Hormone Facebook group. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.